It is very hard to take care of something if you don't know how it works. Not being the mechanical type, I have been responsible for the deterioration of everything from furnaces to lawnmowers to cars, based on that one simple principle. We are bombarded every day by messages about caring for all the parts of our bodies. Diet books routinely dominate the how-to bestseller lists. Exercise videos range from gentle care to outrageously insane in their intensity of focus. Doctors regularly get inundated with prescription recommendations from patients who hear about some medication from an infomercial or Katie or Oprah or Dr. Oz. Then there is the soul. If it's hard to care for something you don't understand, it's even harder to care for something you're not sure exists. We live in a society that has perhaps never paid more attention to our outer being and never paid less to our inner being. But the soul will not go away. If it is neglected or abused or ill-treated or overwhelmed, it is life in its wholeness and fullness that gets shattered. This is the condition that Mindy Caliguire seeks to remedy. She writes as one who cares deeply about the soul. She has not just read and thought about it, she has been actively engaged on the front lines of church ministry to seek to discover how real people can learn deep wisdom and bring healing and vitality to the fractures and fissures of their minds and hearts and wills. She also writes as a wife and a mom who seeks this learning in the middle of all the fullness of family life and contemporary demands. The soul, although full of mystery, is not meant to be confusing. It can be damaged by forces we all understand: ignorance, falsehood, pain, and, above all, sin. It can be healed only by a power greater than ourselves, but that does not mean we are passive. The Bible is filled with descriptions of the means of grace by which our souls can be restored. Deep fellowship with other people, habit-altering times of solitude and silence, acts of generosity and days of servanthood, and lives of simplicity and celebrations of joy are all described here in a way that is accessible and winsome and magnetic. The law of the Lord is perfect, refreshing the soul, wrote the psalmist many centuries ago, in Psalm chapter 19, verse 7. That does not mean legalism refreshes the soul, but it does mean that understanding how God created life to work can be the beginning of hope. When that understanding begins to be applied, when we respond in faith by actually offering our time and our bodies and our thoughts for renewal, we are surprised to find that we meet another. We step into a reality where our souls can be cared for from beyond ourselves. Jesus is there, and the soul finds its worth. May the reading of this book be a journey to the center of your soul, and then a journey infinitely greater than that to the maker and redeemer and lover of your soul. John Ortberg. Preface: A Solitary Journey. Among the first things I did to launch my ministry, Soul Care, was to exhibit a new line of prayer journals at the annual must-attend event for Christian retailers, the Christian Booksellers Association Convention. This event, I was told, was the place to make my debut. With an existing customer base of 10 independent bookstores and the boundless enthusiasm of a new entrepreneur, I signed up for the event well in advance, eager to prove I was really serious about this. A few months later, I packed my bags and quirky display and headed to the big time, the 10,000-square-foot convention center in Orlando, Florida. I knew this was an important step, and I couldn't wait to see what God might have for me. I was so excited the first day of the convention that I arrived at the earliest possible time to begin setting up my 8-by-8-foot booth. In comparison to the palatial booths of most of the other exhibitors, my booth might better have been called a hovel. But it was mine, and I was determined to make the best of it. As I set up my .0008 of the exhibit hall, I discovered yet another indication that I didn't quite belong